Hi guys, it's Tom from SumthinGaming and welcome to my beginner's guide on how to start out solo in CubeWorld. Bear in mind that this is the open alpha, so I'll be expecting a lot of things about this video to change over the course of time, so make sure you stay subscribed for an updated guide as things change. This is not an installation guide or a guide on how to download the game. I realise a lot of people are having trouble registering an account on the Picroma website. That's because it's currently disabled because the traffic is just too much. Best thing to do is just follow the developer Wally on Twitter. I'll leave a link in the description and he'll let you know when registration for accounts is back online and you can buy the game. So first thing when you get into the game is you want to check your options and just make sure everything's as it is, or as you want it rather. Languages are currently set to numbers. I'm assuming 0 is English. So to start the game, click on Start Game and create a new character. And then first you'll want to choose a race. There's lots to choose from. Won't go into too much detail on that. Male or female. And then you can choose a class. There's currently 4 classes and each class has 2 specializations. The warrior has the berserker specialization, which focuses on dealing damage with this big 2-handed log, I guess. And there's also the guardian specialization, which focuses on having a shield and taking less damage and taking damage for your friends as well. And then we have the ranger class, which has a nice little crossbow. These 2 specializations are sniper, which focuses on using stealth. While you're in this stealth mode you cannot move, so it's focusing on being stealth at a range, and while you're in stealth you'll do more damage. And there's also this scout, which just enables you to move faster so you can get away from your enemies. Next we have the mage with a nice big staff. This has the fire specialization, which focuses on burning spells and big damage. And then there's the water specialization, which has a targeted healing spell, so it's more of a sort of support role. And these will probably be needed. And then we have the rogue with the 2 little daggers. This has the assassin specialization, which can go into stealth, and this rogue can move while in stealth, and it does more damage while it is in stealth. Then it has the ninja specialization, which has evasion and counterattacks, and it's also got a shuriken attack, which does a little backflip and throws lots of cool ninja shurikens about, which is very cool. For the purposes of this demonstration, I will just go with the mage, I think. And then I'll just go with a undead, because that's what I like. And I'll just say my name is something SumthinGaming. There we go. Then you won't see these worlds, you'll just see this little box right here. Just click to create a new world. Enter a random number. I'm just going to choose 1, 2, 3, and then name the world Cool, Mega, Awesome World. And there we go, my world is now being created, and here we are in our little world that we've just created. So the first thing you'll want to do is press F1. It will bring up the controls, study these, remember these, you'll need to know them. And it'll also give you a hint at what sort of features there are in the game as well. So for example, T is call pet, which as you can imagine means you can have a pet, which is very cool. What you want to pay special attention to for the time being is the mouse controls, which is your combat sort of controls. Now what I'm going to do is just find some mobs that I can fight, and I'll demonstrate basic functions of combat to you. Okay, so I've found an owl which I should be able to kill. You left click generally, well, mage is an exception to this, but your left click abilities will generate mana, and your right click is a more sort of powerful spell which costs mana. But for mages, the left click to generate mana is not needed, as you automatically generate mana. So I'm just going to initiate this fight with a right click spell, and that does a hefty ton of damage. And you can press the middle mouse to get out of tricky situations, to roll and dodge. This makes you immune to damage for a very short time, but it also costs stamina, as you can see across the bottom there. And I'll just kill this. And there we go. We gain 1 XP from that owl. And that's the general basics of combat. As you level up, you'll get more abilities that you'll unlock as well, but we'll get into that a bit later. Okay, so now I'm just going to presume that you're awesome at combat. Now you might be wondering, what do I actually do? Well, that's a good question. First, I would recommend finding mobs just by exploring the world and gathering resources as you go. Now, what resources you'll need for crafting weapons and armor will depend on what class you are. For mages, you'll need wood and silk. You get silk from these little scrubs which you'll find randomly about the world. And to gather from these scrubs, well it's basically a spider web, you just attack it like this. And then press E a few times to pick up all the cobwebs. And there you go. And you'll be able to use those later on when you come to the appropriate crafting terminal in order to make yourself some armor. So that's cobwebs for mages. If you are a rogue, you will want to gather these cotton plants, like so, and cotton can be used for rogue armor. For ranger armor, you'll need to find bushes and kill them, and these will drop plant fibers which can be used to make into linen armor. Bushes will also sometimes drop wood, which is what you need for wooden weapons such as boomerangs, bows and staffs. For metal weapons and armor, you'll need to explore caves which are usually located under hills and mountains. Here you'll find various metal deposits including iron, silver and gold, as well as gems such as emerald. While you're on your travels, you'll also want to look out for food items such as these mushrooms which you can pick up using E, ginseng which you have to destroy by killing it, like so. And this can be crafted into soup at a campfire, which I'll get into later on. And you'll also notice these little love hearts on the ground. These are heart flowers and these are used for health potions. You want to pick up as many of these as you can find, as health potions are in fact very useful indeed. In fact, no person should be without them. If you want to know what food you can make, press C on your keyboard and then go over to the 4th tab, which is the cooking tab. And this will show you what food you can make. Now I can make 4 ginseng soup, but I need to reach a campfire, which I'll get into later. And you can also make pineapple slices if you manage to find some pineapples near a town. And these don't require a campfire, but it also heals a bit less. In order to eat food, you simply click on it in your inventory. You have to press B to open up your inventory, go on the food tab, which is the 2nd one. And then here you'll find food items, simply right click on it to eat it. Or you can also press tab and it'll bring up a little wheel which you can navigate using the A and D keys. And once you have the food selected that you want to eat, press tab again to close this menu and press Q to consume the item. In order to eat food, you'll need to stay still and sit down while your character eats the food, whereas with health potions you can run around while consuming them, so that's why health potions are particularly useful for combat situations. Eventually in your travels you'll come across a little campsite like this. Every campsite will have a fire, but not every campsite will have a sleeping bag. Sleeping regenerates health and makes the time of day advance a little bit faster. So make sure you take advantage of these beds whenever you see them. To use the campfire, simply walk up to it and press R, and this will bring up the cooking menu, so then you can make your ginseng soups if you have any. Simply hold down the sword button and this will continue to make all your ginseng soups until you have no more ginseng. So when you're looking for enemies to fight around your world, make sure you look at the name and the colour of it, which will indicate the level that that mob is. So for example, blue mobs like this turtle, which seems to be giving me very strange looks. Blue means that the mob will be quite easy to fight. This pig is orange, which means I will have a hard time fighting it, but I should be able to manage it with some health potions and such. Mobs that have a red name like this bumblebee, oh god, you should generally avoid because they're most likely to wreck you. Like so. Although I'm not really trying. And white mobs are, well, pretty easy. Now here we have a statue. You'll see these around the game from point to point, and these are where you resurrect if you die. There's no reason to be afraid of death unless you're at a boss which is really hard to get to, in which case you should be afraid of death. Because when you die you'll spawn at these statues, and you'll spawn at the one that's second closest to the location that you died at. This is to prevent you zerging a boss and just dying, going back to the boss and so on. I feel I should also point out that you won't lose any items or XP or anything like that if you die. If you happen to wander into a cave or it suddenly becomes nighttime and it's really dark like this, simply just press F and that will turn on your lamp so that you can see better. Alright, so I'm just about to kill this mob and it will get me a level like that. Now when you level up, press X and it will bring up your skill points menu. Every time you level you get 2 skill points to spend. When you first start leveling up, I would recommend going for this row of abilities here, which is your class abilities, and the last one on this row is your specialization specific ability, which for fire mages is teleport. Each row of abilities has different columns, and in order to progress to the next grayed out column you have to spend at least 5 points in the first column. So for example, to get the ability Mana Shield I have to at least spend 5 points in Fire Explosion, which I will do right now. And there we go, we've clicked learn and now I have that ability on my hotbar in the number 1 slot. These other 3 rows, same principle applies. You have to spend at least 5 points in the first column to get into the second one. So this row is the Pet Master row, which once you spend 5 points in that, it will enable you to ride on your pet. This row progresses your climbing ability, which then progresses onto the hang gliding ability. And finally there's the swimming ability, which progresses onto the sailing ability. And like I said, when you're first starting out I'd recommend getting these abilities first before progressing on these travel related abilities as well. So if you feel like you've done enough adventuring and you want to go to a town to sell some items and craft some armor and weapons, press M to open up the map and find the nearest town, which will look like this on the map. It'll look like a few buildings bunched together. You want to head in that direction, but I'm just going to jump there on a different character because I'm lazy. When you get to a town it should look a little something like this, and you might think, where the hell do I go? Good question. Bring up the map, zoom all the way in, and you'll see some icons that start to appear on the map throughout the town. And you'll also see the districts of the city. So there's an adventurer district, a pet district, crafting district, and a trade district. Now the first thing you'll probably want to do is you'll probably be low on health, so you'll want to find a bed, find an inn, which looks a little like this, go in, and go up the stairs, if I can find them. There it is. And here are some beds, which I can regenerate my health with. And if I can go down the stairs again. The innkeeper will reset the time of the day to 7 o'clock. I'll explain what this is for later on. But just know that that's what you do to reset the time of day. Next you'll probably want to sell some items that you don't need, and you'll want to buy some potion flasks, and with good reason. Find a general store which looks a little like this. It looks like a little pot or bag of some description. So just go in and talk to the shop owner. And here is your inventory. If you want to sell weapons and armor that you don't need, it'll be on the first tab. If there's foods and formulas that you can't use or you don't want, just right click to sell those. This is where your food is and resources, and here's your pet food. Now the vendor is on the right hand side, so he sells glass flasks, which are what you need for health potions. Just buy as many of these as you can. Iron lamp, you already have one of these by default, so you don't need to buy another one, unless it's a green one, in which case do buy that because it's better than the default lamp and it illuminates a bigger radius. So yeah. You also have hang gliders and a boat. You need to unlock the ability to use these. I'll just show you. You need to unlock this with skill points, so don't buy these until you need them. And generally there'll be a pet food that's on sale. So for example, sometimes I see carrots which can be used to obtain bunny pets, but at the moment this guy is selling cotton candy, which is used to obtain a sheep pet, which is what I have. And this guy also sells formulas which can be used to learn crafting, well, formulas for various armor and weapons. And there's also bombs. You don't really need these, but they are useful if you need to destroy some mines while you're out in a cave or something. If you don't have the resources to craft your own armor, but you do have the money to buy some, then consider heading to the armor shop, which looks a little bit like this. So just head on in and talk to the shopkeeper, and you'll see a big long list of items that you could potentially buy. But each piece has a number next to it, like +1, +10, +14, etc. Every time you level up, you will gain more power levels. Just keep that in mind. And the numbers next to each piece of armor in the shop is the power level which is required in order to wear that piece, as well as there's a class requirement for each piece as well. So I am currently level 46 power on the left here, so I'm going to scroll down to +46 armor and see if there's anything for my level, and there's iron shoulders, so I could potentially buy that, but I'm not going to. Similarly, if you need a weapon, you can come to the weapon shop, which looks like a little sword icon, and it's just the same sort of deal as the armor shop, with plus numbers next to each item, which indicates the power required to wield that item. If you want to make wooden weapons, then you'll want to find a saw, which is indicated by a saw icon on the map. Use this, and you'll need to make yourself some wood cubes out of wooden logs that you find throughout the world. Just hold down the sword icon to make these. You'll sometimes get free extra wooden cubes from your logs. And then you'll want to head over to this little workbench, which you can then use to make weapons, but I can't because I'm a warrior and I don't use wooden weapons. To make metal weapons and armor, you'll want to head over to a furnace and an anvil, which is indicated by an anvil icon on the map. So what you want to do is head over to the furnace first, make some iron cubes out of iron nuggets that you find throughout the world, or whatever metal you have for that matter, and hold down the sword icon again just to make all of the cubes. Then when you have enough, head over to the anvil and then craft the items that you want, whether it's armor or weapons. And finally we have what I'm going to call the tailoring station, which consists of a spinning wheel and a loom, and it's indicated by this scissors icon on the map, as you can see. Well, you might not be able to see that. This is for cotton, linen and silk, so everyone except warriors. So what you do is you use the spinning wheel and use your silk, cotton or plant fibers on the spinning wheel, and then you'd bring them over to the loom to create yourself some armor. In the adventurer district of any town, you will find class trainers. Class trainers are required in order to reset your skill points or choose a different specialization. For example, here is the ranger class trainer, and over here we have the rogue trainer. Over there is the mage trainer, and here we have my trainer, the warrior trainer. So I'm just going to bring up my skill menu and I want to say, right, I want to be a guardian instead of a berserker. This will cost money and then I will click learn to do that, but berserkers are better. And finally, you might see this little magnifying glass icon on this shop and you might be wondering what it is. Basically, there is a drop that's quite rare in the world called leftovers. If you get one of these drops, bring it to this guy, right click on it in your inventory and then click on identify. It will cost a little bit of money to identify the item, but it will give you a random weapon or a piece of armor, and that's basically what that is. Okay, so now you're almost ready to go out adventuring and exploring, but first there's a few more things that you need to prepare for. First, you'll want to get yourself a pet. So let's just assume you've bought some food from the shop already, whether it's a carrot or a cotton candy stick or one of these other foods. Equip the appropriate food for the appropriate creature. Hold it out. Don't do anything. Aww, look how adorable that is. I now have a new sheep. On the outskirts of every town there should be a farm like this where you can find pineapples. If you want to be uber mega prepared, pick up all these pineapples that you can find and you'll be able to make those into pineapple slices which you can then use as food. Another thing you'll want to do is you'll want to fill those flasks that you hopefully bought earlier with water. There's usually some wells dotted around towns somewhere and I've just found one here, so what you want to do is jump in the well, bring up your crafting menu and then proceed to make all of your water flasks. Then what you want to do is go to the potion menu, make yourself some life potions like this, and then you're ready to go adventuring. So you're all ready to go adventuring, but where do you go? Well, if you bring up the map, this will help a whole bunch. If you zoom out far enough, you'll be able to see some double-crossed swords, like this one above Gion Canyon, I think that's called. These double-crossed swords represent missions that you should probably head to, but places which are named but don't have cross swords above them, you can still go to them and they'll probably still have some enemies there. But these double-crossed swords just help to find new areas in places you haven't explored yet as well. I'm not going to go to one of these places just because I want to let you guys find out what it's like for yourself, as it's more of a surprise that way. And that'll be the end of this video. If you liked it, thumbs up and subscribe for more Cube World videos, and I will see you next time.